February 1st, 1959. Deep in the frozen heart of Russia's Ural Mountains, something terrified 9 experienced hikers so badly that they cut their way out of their own tent and fled barefoot into a blizzard. Temperatures were hitting -30°C. Within hours, all 9 were dead. Their bodies were found scattered across the snow in a scene of pure terror that has haunted investigators for over 6 decades. This wasn't just a simple case of freezing to death. Some victims had fractured skulls, but with no external wounds. One woman was missing her tongue and eyes. Traces of radiation were even found on their clothing. The Soviet government, in a move that only deepened the mystery, immediately sealed the case, classified all the files, and stamped it with a conclusion that satisfied no one. Death by an unknown compelling force. The leader of the group was 23-year-old Igor, a meticulous and confident student who believed he could conquer any challenge. He had handpicked his team for a brutal expedition to earn their Grade 3 hiking certification, the highest honor in Soviet mountaineering. His team was young, strong, and filled with that feeling of invincibility that only youth can provide. They set out on January 27th. For the first few days, everything went exactly as planned. Spirits were high. They told jokes, sang songs, and one of the hikers, Zenita, filled her diary with notes about the stark beauty of the landscape. But on January 31st, something changed. The group made a fateful decision. Instead of taking a safer route through a valley, they chose to set up camp on the slope of a mountain called Kolatsa. In the language of the local Mansi people, that name translates to Dead Mountain. A place shrouded in old stories of strange lights in the sky and sounds that came from nowhere. Only one person from the original group survived, Yuri Yudin, who had turned back 3 days earlier due to illness. For the rest of his life, he was haunted by the fact that he wasn't there. He spent 54 years obsessively trying to understand what happened on that mountain, as if solving the puzzle could somehow bring his friends back. That night, February 1st, sometime after 9 p.m., the unthinkable happened. The hiker's tent was found sliced open from the inside, with desperate, frantic cuts. It wasn't the work of someone calmly exiting. It was the savage tearing of people fleeing something so terrifying that certain death in a blizzard seemed like the better option. Their boots were still inside, neatly arranged. Their coats were hanging up. Whatever drove them out gave them no time to dress, no time to think only. Time to cut and run. The first 2 bodies were found 1.5 miles from the tent, beneath a large cedar tree. They were wearing only their underwear, dead from hypothermia. Disturbingly, someone had climbed the tree and broken branches up to 15 feet high, as if trying to see something, or escape something. At the base of the tree, they had tried to start a fire, their hands so frozen they could barely grip the matches. And when examiners looked closer, they found that one of the bodies had clothing that was slightly radioactive. 3 more bodies were found between the cedar tree and the tent. Igor, Dyatlov, Zenita Kalmogorova, and Rustem Slobodin. The positions they died in told the story of a desperate struggle to return to the tent, crawling on hands and knees after their legs gave out. Most hauntingly, Rustem had a fractured skull. The forensic report was clear. The injury was caused by a blow equivalent to a car crash, yet there was no external wound, no cut, no bruise, just a skull fractured from the inside out. 2 months later, as the snow began to melt, searchers found the final 4 bodies buried in a ravine. And this is where the case goes from mysterious to completely impossible. These 4 had massive internal injuries. One woman, Ludmila Dubanina, had her chest crushed with such force that the medical examiner compared the damage to a car crash or an explosion. Again, there were no external wounds, no cuts, no bruises, just bodies pulverized from within. And most disturbingly of all, Ludmila was missing her tongue, her eyes, and part of her facial tissue, removed with what the report described as surgical precision. And before you think it was animals, the bodies had been buried under 13 feet of snow, frozen, solid and completely inaccessible to skin. The lead investigator, Lev Ivanov, later admitted that he was pressured by high-ranking officials to close the case quickly. He said he personally witnessed strange, glowing orange spheres in the sky above the mountain objects that moved with purpose and intelligence. This is what led him to write that now infamous conclusion: death by an unknown compelling force. For decades, the theories have multiplied. Was it a secret Soviet military weapon test gone wrong? That might explain the secrecy and the radiation, but not the sheer panic that caused them to flee. Others pointed to infrasound, a low-frequency sound created by wind, capable of inducing paranoia. But that doesn't explain the crushing physical injuries. Some even whispered about the local Mansi people, but the force required to cause these injuries was far beyond human capability. You can't pulverize someone's ribs without leaving a single mark on their skin. Then there are the more exotic theories, that the orange spheres were not military, but extraterrestrial. And while it sounds like science fiction, multiple trained observers in the area reported seeing strange lights in the sky during that exact period. In 2021, Russian authorities reopened the case and concluded a rare type of avalanche was to blame. But the scientific explanation ignores too many bizarre details. Avalanches don't remove tongues. They don't cause radiation. And an avalanche strong enough to crush ribs would have obliterated the tent, which was found still standing. What makes this case so chilling is the totality of it. It's not just one strange detail, but dozens. Each one is inexplicable, and when you put them all together, they don't form a clear picture. They form a void, a space where logic simply fails. 9 competent people fled into certain death from something, and whatever that something was, it was worse than freezing to death in a blizzard. In her final diary entry, written just hours before she died, Zenita wrote something cryptic. Now we know that the snowman exists. Was he to joke? A reference to a local legend? Or did she see something that defied explanation? We will never know. The bodies were buried, the files were sealed, and the Dyatlov Pass incident became a legend. The real horror isn't in not knowing what happened. It's in knowing that something did happen. Something real that left behind bodies, photographs, and evidence that cannot be explained away. And that's where the Dyatlov 9 remain, forever frozen in our minds, asking the one question that has no answer. What did you see on that mountain that was worse than death itself? Thanks for watching. If you find these kinds of deep dive mysteries as fascinating as I do, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss our next investigation.